I'm Clarissa Mosley, psychologist and psychotherapist, back to you with some more understanding of human psychology and psychodynamics. So as we move forward in Baby Reindeer in episode 3, you've got Donnie being increasingly aware of the issue with Martha and how dangerous, and now she's getting legitimately stalky. You know, before she was completely obsessed, but now she's showing up at his house, his host's, Liz's house, getting really, really weird and creepy. And so he's threatened to call the police on her. And this seems to impact her and work as a deterrent. What I want to look at is when Martha is sitting in the bus stop, what is going on there? So if someone were to do this, if they were to actually sit in a bus stop a distance away from their object of obsession and collapse into the state of catatonia. Catatonic state is where the lights are on but nobody's home, that the person is still upright and conscious, but they're staring off into middle distance non-stop. They're checked out. So let's understand what might be going on there. So Martha is obsessed with Donnie. He has been absorbed into her mindscape, her consciousness. She's been used as her supply, as her reason for being for so long. This is happening months down the track. And she's had to inhibit her obsessive behavior. And so then we have to be curious, where does it go? It doesn't go away because she doesn't go away. She sits in the bus stop hoping to get a little bit of a dopamine hit, a little bit of a supply, a little bit of a reward from when Donnie walks by. And she can at least maintain the sense of proximity to him by sitting across in the bus stop. Remember, she stopped messaging him so much because that could get her in trouble as well. He's threatened to call the police against her, so she knows she's got to pull back, but she can't do this in a healthy way. She's not going to distract herself. She's still sitting there in proximity to him, hoping to get the sense of reconnection or maintain the sense of connection with him in her own pathological, distorted way. But we see over time that she starts to disintegrate and to collapse inward. One way to understand this is because she's lost this huge part of her functioning. What I think's happening there is that she's going into an anaclyptic depression. When I first learned about anaclyptic depression, it was in the context of understanding how babies in orphanages or babies that are not picked up and cared for sink into this giving up depression. They actually stop crying out. They stop making any attempts to contact anyone out there, and they just collapse within. It's a tragic, horrible thing to understand. But I've got a sense that this is what's happening with Martha as she sits at the bus stop, because she goes into such a collapsed inward state that she's just hardly there. You can tell it's very desolate. So some might say that she's bipolar and she's sunk into the depressive phase here. And that could be so. She certainly had a lot more energy in a maniacal sense when she was texting and emailing Donnie and following him around and appearing in places. And that was an awful lot of heightened energy. And this appears to be the opposite amount of depressive energy. What I think she's experiencing in its most profound form is she is drowning in her narcissistic emptiness, a psychodynamic term which explains the emptiness that all of us can feel, but people with narcissistic personalities feel, and borderline personality feel, when they go into and collapse into the void within them, the schizoid void, the emptiness that is within. Many of you might have had fleeting moments of this feeling of emptiness and desolation and nothing in there. I think this is why a lot of us keep really busy in our lives. I don't think it's obviously as profound as what Martha's going through in the show, but some people do experience a very deep, isolating emptiness within them, and that is a function of their depression or the state that they get into when they're on a bipolar low state and a depression. So narcissistic emptiness or the narcissistic void is a term that I'm familiar with due to the Ridwan teachings, or the books written by A.H. Almaas, who founded the Diamond Approach. And basically that's a psychodynamic way you're doing your ego work for spiritual growth and development. But you have to go into this narcissistic void to go down past the ego layers. It's a phenomenon where there is an emptiness and there's no sense of identity. And this is what's happened to Martha. She's basically scaffolded her identity, her borrowed function, onto Donnie and idealized him and obsessed over him. And that's filled up such a space in her that now that he is gone and he's not giving her any supply, he's not giving her any attention, she's collapsed into this void. If you've got different opinions of what might be going on, pop it in the comments below. And while you're at it, you can hit me a like and you can subscribe if you want to hear more. So Martha's collapsed into this deep catatonic appearing depression because she's lost her connection. So she's got no object. She's got nothing to support her. And I think she's legitimately upset that she's lost this idea of Donnie being her little reindeer. Now, the infantile aspect of this is relevant because all along, Martha writes like a child. She acts incredibly emotionally immature. She's clearly not mentally well and healthy. And this catatonic, regulated, depressive state that she's in really highlights all of that. But when I see her sitting there, devoid of her object of desire, devoid of her baby reindeer, I kind of imagine what it could have been for her, or what her trauma might have been like, or what the isolation of her childhood might have been like. Because as we go through the episodes, we find out that the name Baby Reindeer is her toy reindeer when she was little. And we almost see that little girl sitting in her room alone without her toy. And the baby reindeer is her transitional object, the transitional object that a child uses to make themselves feel safe and secure and not alone when they're separating from mummy or their parents. And she expresses in this later episode, I think it's in the last one, when he listens to the last voice message, and she said about the name and why she called him Baby Reindeer, that was a toy that she used to hold on to while her parents were fighting. And we can kind of see her in this bus stop alone and empty and in this schizoid state. She's completely separate from reality. She's not taking care of herself. She's not eating. She's not drinking. And it makes me curious if the experience that she's having there in the bus stop isn't akin to the experience that she may have had as a small child, feeling alone and isolated and desolate in her room while her parents were potentially busy arguing. And of course, all of this is only my hypothesis, but that's what I see as a psychologist looking upon the depressed, desolate Martha sitting in the bus stop. Now, of course, Martha's depressed state does a turnaround when she finds out that she's really dropped, that Donnie's actually broken up with her. While she's in the bus stop, she still has hope. She's waiting for him to come back to her, as if a child would wait for her parent to come in and find her sad or crying and offer her some comfort. I almost wonder if this isn't Martha's repetition compulsion of the trauma that she experienced when she was a little girl. Of course, this doesn't excuse the way she behaves as an adult, but it might lend some explanation to how she became the way she is in the show. So as Martha's sitting there, we know that she's been functioning from her obsession on Donnie. I think it's important to understand that a narcissist, if she is one, exists by virtue of the supply that they're getting. So there has to be another that they're in a relationship with, even if it's only in their mind. Like a narcissistic personality can survive off their introjects or ideas of people, but that's all been withdrawn and she's not getting that. So she's slowly decomposing into nothingness, into the narcissistic void as it's known in psychodynamic literature. And so I hope you have enjoyed my analysis of episode 3 of Baby Reindeer. And I hope you've learnt something from the exploration into the potential psychodynamics. If you've enjoyed this, please give me a like and subscribe if you want to hear more and learn more. Thanks for being with me, and I'll see you in the next one. He said